morning and welcome to our annual candidate forum. Today we have two candidates for Ward 3, Paul Ray and Yolanda Roman. The questions, first let me say thank you to Practical Windows and Doors who provided the dessert for everybody here today, and Mangier Gourmet is for one of the famous snacks. There'll be 3 minutes. We had a coin toss, and there'll be 3 minutes on the clock for the opening speech. Yolanda will go last. Paul will go first on the beginning and the end, on the opening and the closing. And then we'll start with the questions with Yolanda first, then Paul, and vice versa. Each question will be sent to the same question will be asked of each candidate. Please note that the questions are a compilation of the questions submitted by our residents. So if your question is not asked exactly as written, that's why. Okay, would you like to have the first opening speech? There you have a microphone right there, Paul, and you can start. And you have 3 minutes. Just push up all the way. That's not the way. You may hear it. Roger.
There you go. It's been a while since I actually had a microphone in my hand, and in the past it was always because I had to make people laugh, so this is slightly different venue. One of the things that I want to just make a quick quote from Franklin Delano Roosevelt, because he had said, democracy cannot succeed unless those who express their choice are prepared to choose wisely. The real safeguard of democracy before is education. I'd like to thank the town Shores for hosting this event and for this candidate forum. I would like to introduce my other half, Wes, out there. I was kind of hoping there would be some of the other members of our council staff here, but I guess not tonight. 14 years ago, I came down to Gulfport with my other half, who grew up in this area. We used to swim on the beach when he was a child, when a baby, and I fell in love with Gulfport. Being from Cape Cod, this was sort of like Cape Cod without the cold. Without the snow, so I fell in love. And then the character, the acceptance of the people that came from this town were just overwhelming. It was then, 14 years ago, that I decided I was going to move here. Of course, it took quite a few years, and I always called it the start-off shotgun approach, because we kept saying, eventually I'll get a contract and I can move to this area. So we ended up in San Francisco, slightly off course, Fort Lauderdale, Jacksonville, and then finally we ended up here. So I believe in as far as my beliefs in government is, I believe in a transparent government. I believe in a government by the people who are done, who think analytically and critically about issues. I always joke about the fact that if a UFO landed in my backyard, I'd have to flip it over to find out where it was made. I stole that from Joan Rivers, by the way. But I think that I would be a good candidate for this town, and that I have big shoes to kind of fill, because Jennifer's, I really have a lot of respect for Jennifer. Don't always agree with her, but so I would like to ask everybody to make sure that you go out and vote.
Thank you. Yolanda?
Thank you, Paul. And likewise, thank you for everybody for joining us this morning. I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, and hopefully as we go through some of the Q&A, you'll get a really good picture of where I stand and some of my priorities.
Sorry.
Had extra time.
Yeah.
So again, Yolanda Roman, and I've been a resident and homeowner here in Gulfport for almost 6 years. A few years before that, I did have a vacation home in the Clam Bayou area. A little bit about me: I'm a mother of 3, and I've been in the pharmaceutical industry for the last 34 years. I've worked for 2 operating companies, one of which is Johnson & Johnson, and another one is Alchemist Incorporated. I am heavily focused, and my expertise has been in state government, federal government, working with consumer advocacy organizations. A lot of my expertise has been in project planning, team development, and bringing products to fruition. I've worked with the FDA in very intricate jobs, very sophisticated jobs, and really understanding policies and what it takes to get that job done. I think one of the things I think you'll want to know is that some of my capabilities are project planning, team development, working off objectives and results-oriented, paying close attention to details, making sure that I investigate things thoroughly, and really ask the tough questions that need to be done to be successful in what I've done. And I think I've proven that in my career, and I know those qualifications, those skill sets are going to enable me to work here in City Council in team format with our City Council as it is today and our mayor moving forward. I also want to say that I'm not afraid of making tough decisions. I know that before us, things are going to come before the council, such as what are we going to do with our sewers from now to the 2015-2016. There's decisions that are going to come about with Clam Bayou, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. There's long-range planning with our marina, and you're going to want someone in City Council who can really understand those issues, really dissect those issues, and really come forth with an educated decision that's for the good of overall Gulfport and our community. So what I'm going to ask you today is learn a little bit about me. I've set some priorities that I think are critical for our city. Personally, I really want to see what are we doing with our cities, our streets, our alleyways. There are areas that do need improvement. And I think as a city council member, I can take that on as a challenge. You will see that my other focal point are senior services and programs. We have 35% of our population 65 and over. Are we asking the questions as far as everything we do in Gulfport? Does it really impact our community for 65 and over? And what can we do to really engage that community moving forward? And my third priority will be downtown parking in Gulfport. We have great things happening, a lot of people visiting us, and we now have a little challenge in accommodating our visitors. So those are three priorities I want to put forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Yolanda. Thank you, Paul. Okay, the first question, by the way, neither candidate had seen any of these questions. This is all from our group of people here. So the first question will go to you, Yolanda, and it is, what is your opinion, excuse me, what is your opinion about outsourcing various services as sanitation, and will you keep the police department?
I'm going to be very clear about this. I'm not going to be a fan, won't be a fan, and I'm not a fan of outsourcing, and I'll give you a couple of reasons. First and foremost, we want to keep our police department here in Gulfport. These are individuals from our lieutenants, our sergeants, our chief of police, who know our community, work with our community, protect our community. We know who they are. They are our neighbors. When it comes to other city services, such as sanitation and utilities or whatever it may be, a lot of cities do find that they need to outsource because of issues with budget, shortfalls, having to lay off, and thinking that entering into contracts with outside sources will save monies. I think there's been a lot of lessons learned with a lot of municipalities that all those savings aren't always realized, and then sometimes it actually costs you more. And who best knows our city than the people who work and live in our city? So I'm not a fan of outsourcing. If that were ever to happen, then we're going to have to look at that very seriously, look at the consequences, and then make that educated decision. But I would not propose or advocate outsourcing our police department, fire department, and or any other city services.
Thank you, Yolanda. Paul?
I also do not advocate at all I just want to call it offshoring. So I'm a software engineer. I didn't put that part in. I was the president of a corporation with 11 employees for about 16 years. And I was responsible for not only budgeting, but also making sure that they all got their paycheck on time. Also in the restaurant for over a year with my other half. So I do have quite a bit of experience as far as budgeting and finances go. But when it comes to the city services, I totally believe that it's part of our identity. When you see the city, Gulfport Police or Fire Department on the side of the police cars and fire cars, I think it's absolutely critical that they stay here, not only for response issues, because I don't want, this person said 35% of the people in this town are seniors. I want to make sure that people they have assistance immediately as quick as possible. Having them outside of town, like sheriffs or something, may mean, one, we lose people who are part of the city, and I've met a lot of our police officers. I've met with most of the people downtown, and I advocate keeping them. One of the things that I would like to see, however, is that I would like to see an increase. We have a very, very low turnout on our recycling, and we're only doing paper and cans. I think what we need to do is go with a single source, and I think we could partner. So that's one way of, you could say that we are outsourcing a little bit with the city of St. Pete or the county in order to do single sourcing, because single sourcing is proven to be an effective way of increasing from 10% or whatever, I think 10, 12% we're doing now, up to perhaps 50 or 60% this item, which to me is very important.
All right, thank you very much, Paul. Paul, you'll get the next question. Property taxes, our favorite. Property taxes were increased a few years ago. Would you have voted for that increase and why?
Well, a couple of years ago, the increase of the millage rate went up. The reason being is that the millage rate went up. But I believe that the millage rate should always be tied to property values. If the property values are going up, the millage rate has to come down. If the millage rate, as the property values go down, up or down, that's how you have to peg the millage rate, bottom line. So would I have supported it then? Probably only because at that time we were facing budget shortfalls. And I don't like paying taxes any more than anybody else does, trust me. I'm a big advocate of not raising taxes on anyone that's sad, especially the seniors and people on fixed income. So I would totally be opposed to it as well. Reducing it, yes, because as the revenues are starting to go up, then we need to start reducing it. And there is other ways of raising revenue. We have our enterprise funds with the increases in the marina, with the increases in our with the fixing of the sewers and everything else. Our water bill should be reduced, but we should have overall have more money coming into the general fund, so we shouldn't have to raise taxes. The bottom line is, if we have a surplus of money at the end of the year, then we've obviously overcharged.
Thank you. Same question, Yolanda, property taxes?
Thank you. One of the things we don't want to do or want to hear is increasing taxes. I mean, that's something that I think we need, near dear to us. We know that does not bode well, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I would advocate that. One of the things, however, we do have to understand, as it has happened across this country in the last few years, and we're just now rebounding a little bit. It was a period of time when our real estate values were dipping, and we're at a point where, as we know in this country, we were losing a lot of revenues due to taxation with our homes. The other thing was that in Gulfport, because of the situation across the country and the economy, our general funds revenues were also taking a hard hit. And we know that we have city services and we have operations such as our police, such as our firefighters, such as things that make this city operate. The city council was posed with a very tough decision. After not touching the millage rate for several years, what do? I mean, we have 22% of our budget based on the income from tax revenues. 8% was already in decline at the time the city council had to make this measurable decision. It was a tough decision. They took a 0.7% increase on the millage rate. Why? Because we want our services as we want our services. We want to make sure that we can depend on our quality of life, our police department, our fire department, our water systems, our sewers. So that was a tough decision. We've had steady maintenance of our millage rate in the last several years, and I think we're happy about that. The economy is in a slight rebound. Our property values are in a slight rebound. And hopefully, as we move forward, the income from that 22% of our property values will really help us get to where we need to be from an appropriations perspective. Was it a tough call? Yes. Am I, as a city council person, going to be faced with potentially that decision in the future? Yes. Do I want to tell the residents that I want to advocate increasing taxes? I do not. But I want to make sure that our quality of life and the services that people want in their lives are met. Because eventually people are going to come back and say, what happened to this? What happened to that? We don't want to outsource, correct? So I want to be diligent, really responsible here and make sure that I understand our situation. I'm a taxpayer. I have extended families throughout Gulfport. There's a lot of seniors in the city, which taxation is a really tough call. So I will be open to comments and really working with the community, more importantly with our city manager, our city council members, our mayor, because this is a collective decision. And that really is open to comments from the community, be it workshops, whatever it may be. The good thing is that as an economy here in the U.S., things are looking a little bit better. Homes are selling, and property values are going to come back to an area, perhaps not where they were several years ago, but we need to get it to a point where the income generated from our taxes are helping the appropriations of the budget. 22% is a big chunk. and that's why there was an increase. But I think city council and the mayor have done a really nice job to not touch that in the last several years.
Thank you, Yolanda. And both of you, if you keep your mics closer to you, it'll be able to hear out there. And for those of you who still have your cell phones on, if we have it, you get to contribute $5 to each campaign fund. So please turn them off. Keep them on, keep them on. In your opinion, what is the role of government? Yolanda.
Great question, and obviously, this is a commitment I'm making. I have a funny analogy, which, hopefully a lot of people understand as far as, we can have our bread, but we can have our cake and ice cream and eat it too. Our bread is composed of what makes us function. We have our sewer systems, our water systems, we have our utilities, we have our parks, we have our police, we have our streets and maintenance department, collection and so forth, trash collection and so forth, and maintaining our water systems. That costs a lot of money. All that working together makes this community what it is today. We have a city manager and city council members who every year work for months looking at what are the revenues that are going to come in and the expenditures that make us operate. And that's part of that bread concept, putting a lot of things together to make us functional and make us inviting and make us a viable city. And as we all know, we're an all services community. And part of that decision making is once we get all the necessities and essentials appropriated and functional, we like our amenities, we like our parks, we like our beaches, we like our senior center. We like the things that make us inviting to outsiders, such as our community events, our casino, our marina. So when you look at government, we need to look at everything in total. It's just not the appropriations for expenditures. It's what makes a community, click. What makes us inviting? What makes us want to be proud of our homes and really take care of our homes? The environment is critical. We're a coastal community. We have water systems that may or may not be potentially impacted by, pollution or by, storms that come about. We got to be ready for that as well. So I look at this as all-inclusive. City government is many parts, has many parts. The operational obligations, but also the amenities and the things that make us a fun community, an inviting community, and a really functional community.
Thank you. Paul?
I've always believed that the role of city government is pretty much what our founding fathers said: the least amount of government is the best amount of government. However, we have support services such as emergency services, the police, and so on and so forth that we do need to maintain. The goal of the council is really to set policy, to set direction for the city, to increase businesses, increase safety, protection for the citizens. I think that we are a full service community, so therefore we have police services, emergency services, and sewer and trash collections and everything else. So the role of government is to keep the city functioning on the infrastructure level and not so much on the personal level.
Thank you very much, Paul. Okay, Paul, you both work. As a council member, how would you deal with resident business issues?
I think a lot of those would come on case-by-case basis. One of the things that's very critical to the city is our businesses. And dealing with businesses, there are a lot of issues. We have a business that's closing because of zoning laws, and they can't afford to rebuild because of the storm. I think that each business has to be looked at on a case-by-case basis. We need to work with them so that if we have to relax the zoning laws in order to keep the people in town, then that maybe that's something we have to do. I don't believe that the governance is not effective when we're actually suppressing business in our city. So working with all of our businesses and making sure that their pathway to success is open.
Thank you.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, you both work. As a council member, how will you deal with resident/business issues?
Thank you. And that question has come up a lot. I think everyone understands that as candidates, our responsibility and our function has been to reach out to the community, not only meet the candidate type things, but I been out there knocking on doors, and I've heard a lot of things that are helping shape my decision making, but also that question has come up as far as, what do you do? Are you a full-time employee? How are you going to be able to balance these responsibilities? One thing that I really want people to take away from my response is I'm here to get the work done, to get the job done. I do work full-time, so I have an employer that I will always and continue to be responsible to, because that's a commitment that I've made as an employee. Upon getting onto the city council, I will be 100% as well dedicated to the function of a city council member, meeting the demands that are put before me on an everyday basis. My office is at home, and so I want to make sure that people understand my accessibility, whatever that accessibility will be. I will be dividing my time, making sure that the city and the residents understand where they can get a hold of me, how they can get a hold of me. I need to reach out to individuals as well. There's a lot of organizations, there's a lot of forums, there's a lot of events that people are taking part of, and I want to be there. A lot of organizations have monthly meetings, quarterly meetings. I think it's a responsibility of a council member, if you're going to really represent the entire city as a whole, to make yourself available to those groups. What's ticking, what's not ticking. They need to see me. They need to know that I'm here to get the job done, however long it takes to get done. We were asked a question recently, how much time do you think you have to expend to city council? My response is, as long as it takes to get the job done. As an anecdotal, I've worked for 34 years. I raised 3 kids as a single mom. And that was a job in itself. How do you balance 3 kids and how do you make them functional and fully, available for society at large, but work hard at my career as well. I did that. I'm up for the challenge. I know how to balance my time, use my time effectively, and really understand that if I'm going to make this commitment and take an oath as city council member, I am up to the job, and I can commit that to the community.
Thank you very much. Yolanda, infrastructure. Our city streets need fixing. Would you borrow money to fix them? Also, do you favor the proposed fix to the city sewers?
Thank you very much. I mentioned earlier, and I'll close later, and you'll see me say this repeatedly, 3 priority items for me. I mentioned senior services and programs. I also mentioned downtown parking, but I also mentioned alleyways and city streets. Just like our sewer system, it takes time for things to go over the lifespan. That's going to be the same situation, and it is the same situation in many respects with our city streets. We have allocations, appropriations that are allotted every year to maintain our streets, repair our streets, and really prioritize whether work needs to get done. One thing that I know for sure, and again, the value of meeting constituents or residents every day, there's a huge problem with our streets. There's many areas that are in need of repair. There's potholes, there's work that hasn't been done in some streets for a variety of reasons. I want to make that a priority of mine. I'm going to have to learn from the city, from the departments who are working on our city streets. Is our budget, allocated to the extent that we can get the job done? And if not, just like we're doing with our sewer systems at this point, will it take sometime in the future for us to consider loans or grants or other modes of bringing appropriations to get the job done? That's a priority of mine. I want it to be a priority of mine, and that includes the alleyways as well. So I'm not advocating for us to go and get long-term loans at this point, because it's not something we want to do as a city. We don't want to incur debt. But let me do my homework. Let me meet with city staff. Let me understand what we're doing, because if we need to do more, then we need to decide what is that more and how we're going to pay for that. And your second part of your question?
Well, it's also, do you favor the proposed fix to the city sewers?
Thank you. Yes, and yes. We have a 50-year-old system. Our sewer systems have been operating. Some have patchwork, some have been repaired, some have retrofits or whatever it may be, but we have a lot of repairs that are in need. We are expending a lot of money, paying St. Pete for disposal, of our water systems. When we have major storms, we know that our sewer systems are already compromised with high water levels. What does that do? It causes floods. We all know what happens downtown Gulfport at this time. I know what happens on my street. You all probably have had challenges navigating city streets after major storms. the work needs to get done. City Council has been very thoughtful to work with engineers, work with individuals who know what needs to get done. Right now, the first phase that City Council is considering and really has approved is working with individuals who will help us craft what kind of loans are going to be necessary for us to move forward. If you don't know, there's a nice set of plans that have been designed to get the work started in 2015, and it may take us a few years to get that done. As a City Council member, what's going to be my challenge and the challenge of the team members in City Council is how we're going to get that job done, where we're going to prioritize, who gets, the work done first, what needs to be redone that we've done in the past. But sooner or later, 2017 and beyond, we're going to have a state-of-the-art sewer system. I am so in favor of it because we deserve to have the assurance that with storage systems and, other things that may impact our city, that we're not going to be negatively impacted moving forward.
Thank you, Yolanda. What, would you like me to repeat the question? Okay.
As far as borrowing money, I think it's a bad idea. We've always been a debt-free city as part of our charter. Also, that there is a general fund, there is a fund that we can actually borrow money from ourselves and pay it back. So I'm not in favor of borrowing money. We are, however, looking at the state's revolving fund, which is what I'm just going to segue into the sewers. We are looking at applying actually already to the state revolving fund to have money at a very low interest rate. And then we'll be working with Con Edison on fixing the sewer systems. What they're going to do is basically fix the systems that actually, the areas that actually are physically needed. So they're going to use a smoke test almost that allows it to come to the surface so we can see where it's actually leaking. Because what I don't think most people realize is that we pay a lot of extra money in our water and our sewer bills because whenever we have a storm, all that water pours right back into our sewer systems, and then we have to pump it up to St. Pete, and we pay literally by the thousands or millions of gallons. And it's hefty. If you look at the prices of what we're paying when it's in dry season and then what we're paying when it's a wet season, it's stunning how much money we're paying. Because during the wet seasons, we have less residents in Gulfport because of the part-time residents that come down during the winter. So one of the things that we have to do is fix it. And the storm drain system is almost a separate issue where we have no back. There's no ability for the water not to flush back in. I was reading the Gabber and I said, wait a minute, what are you talking about? Downtown's flooded, we have fish swimming down on the main street, along with people kayaking. But I was saying, well, how can that be? That's because there's no barrier for flow back at all. It's just pumping right back up onto our streets. So those are two separate issues, but I think that the revolving fund is a great idea. Like I said, they've already applied for already putting the application forward, and then working with Con Edison, who are the people that will actually, I believe, are going to be the people who are going to be implementing the changes. Putting sleeves in where we can, hopefully not having to dig up too much of it, because that would be an inconvenience and a big expense. Because it's basically $100 a foot, and we have 48 miles worth of these pipes.
Okay, thank you very much, Paul. Paul, what can be done to fix the bocce courts at Gulfport Beach?
That's a good one. Since I've never played bocce ball and I've never been to bocce ball courts. Actually, I've seen them, but
It's a big time sport here.
is it really?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I would have to pass on that because I simply wouldn't know. I would have to go and look at the courts and find out what it would cost to fix them if there are repairs needed. So I honestly wouldn't be able to address that.
Okay, thank you. Yolanda?
Thank you. One of the things that, as I mentioned earlier, the more you talk to people, the more you understand what's important in our lives and what is significant, be it the bread or the cake and ice cream. I have had a chance to see the bocce courts. I've actually, was there probably 30, 45 minutes. Took plenty of pictures as well. I think many people in this room may know, and Paul, you may want to take a good look. It's by the children's playground at the rec center. Okay. So one of the things that you may want to know is that a couple years ago, in accommodating changes in the beach area, there was a decision to move the playground to a certain location, which really impact the old bocce courts that were in existence. And there's a rhyme and reason to bocce, and I've learned a lot of this by talking to the residents, because like you, Paul, I don't play bocce ball court, but guess what? I learned how significant it is and what's the purpose and what the functioning is. It was moved, and when it was moved, there was probably not a lot of knowledge known of what are some of the necessities of a bocce ball court. I learned that location is important. I learned that having access to water systems to clean it is important. I also learned that accessibility on brushing the bocce ball court is important. And I also learned that safekeeping of the materials to keep it operational is important. At the city, the due diligence to try to move what was existing or build a new one, but it has some issues that ended up with deterioration, and it's really become non-functional. As I understand, many of our residents in the city, be it Town Shore residents, be it people in the greater community, or even visitors who come to Gulfport and are interested in playing the bocce ball sport, really cannot. You know, if you're in the community in Town Shores, you probably have access to the ones here. But I saw the ones on the beach area. I've taken pictures, and it's something that needs attention. And it's something that I know even today, as a non-city council member, can and should bring to the attention of our city officials. They probably don't know what has happened. They probably don't know that now, you know, we've really taken something away from a community that felt that it was really important. I'm very interested in seeing it, you know, come back to full fruition. I told you all that one of my 3 initiatives are senior services and programs, and this clearly falls within that realm. So, great question, and I think it's something that, as a city council member, you know, I can commit to pursuing on behalf of our residents.
Great. Next question. Are you in favor of allowing golf carts in Gulfport?
Thank you. Actually, I am, and I'll preface this by saying that it's not just easy as saying, yes, okay, let them occur, and here we go, everybody can go buy, you know, a golf court or cruise around the city. Many coastal communities, many beach communities, small communities make golf carts accessible to individuals for short trips or maneuvering around the town and really enjoying our amenities. With that said, you know, our radius, our city radius, you know, we do have some streets that may not work from a safety perspective. If you start thinking about 58th Street, 22nd Street, 49th Street, perhaps other areas as well. And also from a safety perspective, we have to start thinking about how these golf carts accommodate or coexist in streets with motor vehicles. Parking, I think, is another question that needs to be addressed. My thoughts at this point forward, yeah, you know, it may serve a really nice purpose and we probably should pursue it. Clearly understanding what are the rules, the regs, and the licensing requirements that are going to be required. And first and foremost, since it is public streets, both the city and Pinellas County will have a lot to say on what can and cannot happen. Also working with the police department, because they're going to have to navigate, navigate the golf carts, you know, with other motor vehicles. And I think first and foremost with Chief Vincent and the police department, you know, sitting down, understanding what those rules and regs should be, and then taking that to city council from an ordinance perspective. So I do think it's a good idea, but I want to be cautious that it's only done with safety first and foremost as what we need to address.
All right, thank you. Paul, same question.
I spent some time, a lot of relatives over at the villages, and they allow golf carts. I've looked into and researched a bunch of the other cities that do allow golf carts on the streets. The things that you need to address is the regulations regarding insurability. They should be insured. They should be registered with the city, much like we register our bicycles with the city. They should always have a driver's license in order to be able to operate one. They need to have all the safety features such as the third eye in the back for the brake lights. They need to have blinkers for directionals, and they need to be able to exceed a certain speed, just like we have with allowing 49 cc's and above on the roads, but we don't allow them on the highways. Same principles would apply. As long as they're going down 22nd Street and they're capable of doing 35 miles an hour, then they're fine, but they should exceed it. Of course, I think they should be more like 45, and I think that's what the villages do. I think it would be a good idea with the space that they're talking about creating from the marina to downtown, It would be a perfect place to go along along the waterfront, and getting back and forth from the marina, as well as, I think we've cut down on the pollution, plus the parking in the city. Parking is always going to be a problem in the city. We just don't have any parking garages or any place for them, and nobody wants them either, so, yeah, I'm very much for putting golf carts, allowing golf carts with those restrictions within city limits.
All right, thank you very much. Paul, what is your opinion of the mooring field?
The mooring field is actually, I had a long talk, I just met with Dennis Range yesterday, and we talked much about the mooring fields, because there's been a lot of debate going back and forth that there was 100 and now there was only 50, now there's only going to be 25. Of course, we only have a de facto mooring field at this point. We do not have the letter of understanding from the Army Corps of Engineers that gives us the legal right to be able to enforce that. Once we put the mooring field into place, it gives us jurisdiction over that area. So that when people are dumping illegally, because if you know much about boats, there's a gray tank, there's a black tank. If you start dumping that black tank, that's fecal matter. That's going to be going directly into the bay. That's where people are going to be swimming in, and it's a contaminant, dangerous. Some of the things about the mooring field also is that we're going to have a honey wagon that's going to be able to go from boat to boat in the mooring field, and they're going to put a blue packet of dye in every one of the black tanks. So if they illegally release, we're going to know. And not only that, it's a source of revenue for the city. I think it's a very good idea. I like the idea of the 25 because you do have, the radius, you have a spinning radius in which if you have a boat tied here during the course of winds and currents, that boat is going to have a spinning radius. So that's one of the reasons why they did reduce it down to 25, instead of keeping it 50 or 100.
Thank you. Yolanda, same question.
Thank you. I am in support of the moorings field, and likewise, I have spoken to city officials on what were the plans, what are the plans, and what will this look like moving forward. Clearly, the objectives from the city perspective is how do we begin to organize what's happening in Bocachica Bay? Questions have been asked, continue to be asked. Do we have abandoned vessels that need to be addressed? Do we have unnecessary pollution of our waters because of non-control sewage, that's being deposited into our waters? The other thing with the moorings field, it does become an invitation to vessels traveling our intercoastal waterways. Here we are at Gulfport, and we're inviting. We want people to come see our city streets, enjoy restaurants or enjoy businesses. And if we have a facility where people can park and take advantage of a pump out system and take advantage of city services, they may be more apt to visit our community. Once upon a time, there was probably a very aggressive number of mooring fields to place in the vicinity of our waters. And if you all know, it's going to be in the Veterans Park area, in that vicinity to the left of the casino. And I don't know, exactly where it's going to be, but we know that there's a location. So I think, with the 25 that are proposed, and I believe they're about, $1,200 a piece, so something very manageable for the city. The income, revenue producing of the pump out services, I think is a good thing for the city to entertain. But watching this, for a period of time, we should make an assessment moving forward. Was it a good idea, not a good idea? Did people take advantage of it? Have we made an environmental impact, in our water system, in Bocachica Bay? The other thing, which I think was carefully thought out by our city council and our mayor and even residents, before you make decisions that impact our water systems, have we done an environmental check? And I think there was a lot of questions and resistance, and because we never should rush to do things. And I think city council took a very measured approach to say, is this going to have an environmental impact? How about the seagrasses? What's going on in that environment? That assessment was done, that analysis was done. City council and the mayor and so forth felt very comfortable. There was not going to be a negative impact environmentally. So right now, let's get it done. Let's see how it works. It's 25. I think it's manageable. And then we'll see what it looks like in the future. But I think it's a good idea.
Thank you, Yolanda. How would you support Gulfport businesses, and do you support chain stores and restaurants?
Thank you. Comes up a lot. Interestingly enough, it's not as though we've changed to... Are we okay with this?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I think we all know. In the Gulfport, okay?
Give her a new one.
Okay, so I am not gonna go ahead and say absolutely not, chain stores have to be, it's something that is very negative. We currently in Gulfport, if you look at what businesses exist, McDonald's is a chain, Walgreens is a chain. We have our auto store on 49th and 22nd, that's a chain. There are businesses that should come to Gulfport if they're going to meet our needs, which I know some of the facilities I mentioned do meet our needs. There was also a question though, however, what kind of businesses may come and threaten our small business community? And I think that's where a thoughtful city council, a mayor, the residents should be asking those questions. I think we all know Pasadena is getting a Walmart neighborhood type store. I will start to question, what does that mean, to area businesses. So I'm not necessarily opposed if in fact it's something that will benefit our community. But that means that as city council, as members of the community, you all, we start asking the question, who's coming? Why are they coming? Are they here for the long haul? Are they working with our Merchants Association? Are they working with our Chamber of Commerce? Are they going to get involved from a community perspective? Because that's the kind of thing that I will want to challenge these chain stores, whoever they may be, when they come to the community. The fact of the matter is that individuals who do their business here, chain or not, they pay taxes, they add to our revenues. They provide valuable services. So I'm not opposed, but I think we need to engage and make sure that people understand you're coming to our town. And you're coming to service our residents. And obviously our residents will be taking care of your business, so how are you going to be taking care of our business? So I just think it's a great way to open a dialogue, learn from our existing chains. They're here already. They've been here already. And many of them have been here for the long haul.
Very good. Paul, how would you support all four businesses, and do you support chain stores and restaurants?
When it comes to chain stores, being from Cape Cod originally, I saw a lot of them come in and start bringing in the chain stores, and it really was a bad idea. As time went on, they finally discovered that what we needed to do was push them off into a certain area. There was not too long ago on 22nd, there was big talk of Dollar General coming in on the south side of 22nd Street. A lot of people that I've talked to going from door to door have said that they just don't want to see any of the chain stores south of 22nd, and I think that's a very viable alternative. One of the things that really bothers me heavily in this town is 49th Quarter. And the reason, if we get up there and clean that up, that's our curb appeal coming into town. So many people come into Gulfport and they see this when they're coming into Gulfport. I don't know how many want to turn around and go back from where they came from. What's the point? That would be a perfect place for putting something like a Dollar General or whatever, any kind of other supermarkets. It would be nice to have that availability to the people of Gulfport, because we all know if we want to go shopping, we have to go over to Pasadena, or we've got to go up into St. Pete. So I don't support them south of 22nd. There's been discussion of opening a larger restaurant on 22nd on the north side of it, the north side of the street. And that I would be open to. We have to discuss it. The council needs to talk about it and find out all the details. But bottom line, I think that 49th Street would really benefit. We did changed it to a multi-zone, which is a first step towards cleaning up something that's blighted and has crime on it. But the problem is, if you just say, well, that one step, that's not enough. You need to bring in more traffic, more people coming to that area, so that the more traffic, the less crime. Bottom line, if people are coming in and out of their cars, people aren't going to be breaking into your cars, and a little bit of paint up there wouldn't be a bad idea for a start. But my feeling would be, let's put them along 49th and north of 22nd.
Great, thank you. Paul, before I go on to the next question, I just want to get on this topic because you mentioned 49th Street Quarter, and that's been a big eyesore. As you are well aware, Gulfport on 49th Street is separated by St. Pete and Gulfport. Now, St. Pete doesn't seem to want to do anything on their side, yet how much can we do on our side that will benefit that without working with St. Pete to handle the other side? So, do you all have any plans? And I'll ask you both the same question, and you can start with you, Paul, on that one, and just ask, how would you handle that situation with St. Pete?
one of the things that that I've been trying to do is I've been setting up meetings with both they're not council members, those are I forget what they call districts of the one on Tyrone and the one that borders us over on 49th, is to be able to try to work on something because, you know, in a lot of towns, when you go around the cities, we basically, I believe the policy is that the police are not allowed to cross into St. Petersburg unless there's some form of personal safety involved. And I think that we need to change that rule a little bit, work with the city of St. Pete in order to define that. Because if we don't, all we're going to do is be cleaning up one side of the street and leaving the other one. It's sort of like putting, what's the old saying, lipstick on a pig? I mean, it makes no sense. We have to work with them, otherwise it's going to fail.
Thank you. Yolanda, how about you? How do you feel about that?
Oh, I feel very strongly about this. I actually do take offense of us looking at a certain part of our city and number one saying it's probably the worst part of our city or it's probably the most devalued part of our city. I've taken careful approach, not even now as a city council member candidate, to understand who's on 49th Street. And if you all understand or look, and if we all take a careful assessment of 49th Street, it's a very functional corridor. Yeah, it borders St. Pete. We're a blip in St. Pete's eye. You know, 49th Street doesn't end up anywhere in St. Petersburg's priorities, but it is our priority. We have businesses working there. We have restaurants. We have a diner. We have a bank. We have auto services. We have our neighborhood center. We have So 49 Business Association that does a great job in inviting the city to the Blues Fest, to the car show. We have a storage unit. You know, 8 years ago, I kept my belongings when I was coming to Florida at that particular unit. They got my business. They served the community. They may not have the beautiful aspects of many parts of our city, but they have employees. They pay taxes. They're part of our community. And what I don't want to do is send a message that we don't like you, that you don't look nice, that you're a blight. Let's take a step back and say, what do you need? Is there beautification? City council, the city, the police department, we got police presence there now. That's a good thing. We also have brand new lighting. Who has seen that lighting lately? It makes a difference. We can't control St. Pete. We can't control crime. Do we have to be careful on 49th Street? The same way I'm careful on 59th Street, on 22nd Street, on Beach Boulevard, crime is everywhere. So I caution us to be open-minded of the needs of 49th Street. The city has dollars, appropriations, grants to really help 49th Street. There's redevelopment going on. There's monies through Brownsfield, which is taking areas that potentially are contaminated, that need to be decontaminated, perhaps creating new spaces. I've met with the city manager with, there's an interesting aspect of what else can we do? Well, the fact of the matter is let's support our communities. Let's be proud of that, let's help them. But I feel strongly that they're part of us, they will be part of us. As a city council member, engage them. But if you look at many of our residents, where do we conduct our businesses, our services? We go to 49th Street.
Thank you. Yes.
There were things, yes, we put in a new light, and we have done, put the police up there on occasion. I would like to see them up there more often. The Brownsfield that was referred to was never applied for, so no money's ever came in from that. Unfortunately, I do understand that there are businesses out there, and I am very much sensitive to their plights. I also think that I've talked to a bunch of them up there, mostly Mopar and some of the other places that are along that, and I bank into Wells Fargo, and their concern is the crime. And there is a higher presence of crime. If you look at the sheriff's department's maps of crime, you'll see where the crime maps are in the city of Gulfport. In fact, they do publish some of them in the Gulfport Gambler from time to time as well.
Yes.
So I just wanted to make sure that those were clear.
Okay, and do you have any response, Yolanda, to that?
I think we we have information that's published regularly. There's statistics from our police department that are printed annually, and there's no more aspects and statistics of crime on 49th Street than there are any other parts of the city. Perceptions are out there, I get it. We just have to be diligent, we just have to be very careful wherever we're at. Yes, predisposed perhaps to more crime because of the vicinity, but let's try to do something about it. Let's try to engage ourselves, understand the facts, and then to, see what we need to do. I just want to make sure that we understand that it may not be
Right.
where we stroll every day, but it is where we conduct businesses every day.
Okay, great. Town Shores, as you're well aware, are probably about 55% of the voting base. We're very active. We help out the community. We donate our time to the community. We even help Gulfport with some of their services, especially when it comes to inside Town Shores. What will you do as a council member to help Town Shores?
Thank you, Meeker. Good, thank you. First of all, first and foremost, being in this forum today is, the roadmap to knowing what to do. I've learned a lot in working with your organizations. We know that each building, has representation. As a city Gulfport member, with the population of individuals who live here in Gulfport, communication and outreach to make sure that decisions that are being made every day in City Council, do we ask ourselves, what about our Town Shores community? How do they see this? How does this impact them? If I'm taking on parking and alleyways as a priority, is that important to Town Shores? Is parking important to you? Are the streets and maintenance important to you? Likewise, there's sewer work going on in Gulfport. May or may not be something that you would be interested in, but you're very much part of this community. You live here, you pay taxes, you enjoy our amenities. I want to know, are we meeting your needs? Are the beaches and the changes at the beach something that enables you to feel welcoming? Our events in the city, do we have a Town Shores presence? Yes, no? Well, what can we do about that? You have a whole infrastructure in here. You're making decisions every day on your quality of life, your daily living. Is there something else as a city that we should understand about that and perhaps help with that? Senior services. We have our senior center, state-of-the-art facility in Gulfport with a lot of services from well-being and healthcare, social services. We have our library that I understand many individuals in the city, especially our seniors, take part of. We have internet searches. I want to understand what makes you tick here. And if in fact there's something that we don't take into consideration when we're talking about even the marine or Clam Bayou, that it's support for Clam Bayou, I want to know that. And I think you will tell me, your residents will tell me what's working, what's not working, and where we can go from here. And that's only going to happen through communication and transparency. I come to you, you come to me, you're invited to City Council, or vice versa. Because I'm not going to sit here and guess what it is, but you have a very active and functional and beautiful community here. And that's something that I know from a quality of life perspective you want to maintain. And if you need more, then that's the job of City Council and the city and the mayor's effort.
Thank you. Well, how about you, Paul? What will you do to help Town Shores?
Well, I mean, I think we do have a close relationship already, but the collaboration to me is very critical going forward. I mean, if there are issues, I know a lot of the issues that plague downtown and the sewer issues and stuff don't have as much play because I know you have your own maintenance and everything else, but I think the bottom line is that we keep an open lines of communication constantly and collaborate with this area, because after you said 55% of the voters and of the population of Gulfport come from right here, and about actually the percentage of the absentee voters are unbelievably high. So to me, the bottom line is just collaboration and transparency.
Great, very good. After we get through with this thing, we'll talk some more about that question. Politics. What are your political views? Any party affiliations? How do you feel about senior health care and Obamacare?
Good question. I have been because I was from various places like California and Massachusetts, political views are that, I'm sorry, can you ask the question?
Yeah, what are your political views, any party affiliations? And how do you feel about senior health care and Obamacare?
Well, senior health care is something I'm going to have to be very, very vigilant on, since it's going to be pretty soon when I'm going to be needing it. And it's something that I've worked a lot with in the past. When it comes to Obamacare, one of the things that I've always advocated for is some kind of a nationwide healthcare system. I know a lot of people are not interested in a single payer system, and although Affordable Care Act has a lot of flaws, much like Massachusetts, where when it came, Romney Care was kind of the predecessor for the Affordable Care Act, and it's worked out pretty well. It's taken some time. There's a lot of tweaking, little things like you can't allow people to go to the emergency rooms ad hoc anytime they want to, because it just strains the services. I think that we could have done a little better job by stretching it out over periods of years to make sure that we had educated doctors, so that we had more availability of physicians and physicians' assistants and nurses. It's going to end up straining the system, but at the same time, nobody should ever not be able to go to a doctor because they don't have health care. That to me is it's just a matter of ethics and morals. You cannot say no. So I vote, probably most of the time it's going to be Democrat, but I still stand.
Thank you very much, and Yolanda, how about you? What are your political views, any party affiliations? How do you feel about senior health care and Obamacare?
Okay. Yes, I am a registered Democrat, so I'll just say that at this point. One of the things that I want to remind us here in Gulfport, which I think is very rewarding, is that this election is not partisan. And that means that when you're casting a vote, when you're looking at who's running for office, we're gauging that individual based on what they know about our city, what they want to do about our city, for all the people, regardless of party affiliation. So I just want to make that point. As far as my beliefs, and the political process, I am very attuned to fiscal decisions, fiscal questions. We can only spend what we have. So I want to make sure that people understand that I'm very fiscally responsible, understanding that we only can spend what comes in, and we have to make really good decisions on what that spending goes to. The other thing that I want to make sure is that, in my beliefs, as far as government and getting things done in general, there's a value in public-private partnerships. I think we hear that a lot in political campaigns, but I can't stress how important it is taking the private sector and a lot of the learnings in the private sector, a lot of the expertise in the private sector, and bridging over to the public sector and really partnering in things that have to be done, and that's going to help in my response to Obamacare. The other thing that I hold near and dear to me as far as political views is diversity, all-inclusiveness. And I hope that's a true value of mine. That's who I am. And no matter what our inclinations are, as far as male, female, sexual orientation, our incomes, cultural diversity, religion, all inclusive. I see everyone as one, as whole, and that's really important in my political beliefs. And then the other thing is that I hope and I wish that from a government perspective, regardless what our party affiliation is, Democrats, Republicans, independents like Paul, we need to make decisions that are bipartisan. We need to make decisions that are for the people, about the people, regardless of who got us into office from a party affiliation. Now, bridging over to Obamacare. I did not give you tons of details on my background, but for 10, 15 years, my job has been with state government, federal government. I was at the table before Part D Medicare came to fruition. Many in-town shores perhaps understand what our prescription benefit is like and what Part D and Medicare means to you, what Part A, hospitalizations, mean to you, what Part C, which is also Medicare and is the HMOs that many of you have. I spent many years when the Medicare Part D program was being crafted in Washington, D.C. I worked with consumer groups. I understood What is that going to mean to our seniors 10 years from now? And I can happily say that I was at the table 10 years ago, and I can see now the value of bringing something like that to fruition. Did Part D Medicare come out smooth and wonderful? No, it took retweaking. You all understand that. My mom understands that. My extended family here in Gulfport. Obamacare wasn't perfect, isn't perfect. Do I support Obamacare? I do. Do I support the fact that we have 33 million people in this country who go uninsured, underinsured every day and need health care? Yes. People need to realize that the uninsured and underinsured, we pay for that every day with our taxes, be it in hospitals and police services or whatever it may be. We will retweet this. We will take things that we don't like, that don't work. That happened with Medicare in the 60s. It happened with Social Security. It happened with the exception of Medicaid. That's how amendments work. That's how federal programs work. What doesn't work, you fix it. And you get to a point where we can look back and say, did we insure a good percentage of 33 million people uninsured in this country? What happened to our seniors? What happened to our children? What happened to the working poor? I hope one day we can look back and say we put all the political arguments aside and we did good on behalf of Obamacare. I think a lot of our seniors, because I know, my parents and so forth are going to be impacted, are not negatively impacted. And I hope that we can all be very much involved in the political process to make it work.
Thank you very much. This is our last question for the day, and it probably will go in with why should you be elected? And it'll probably go with your closing arguments, but just to answer this question, why don't you just start off, Paul, with why should you be elected?
I think that one of the things that I bring to the table is one of the primary skill sets of a software engineer is analytical and critical thinking. Like I said before, if it was a UFO laid in the backyard, I'd flip it over to find out where it's made. But when you're dealing with topics and subjects, issues on the council, many of them are going to have multiple sides to them. Everybody's got an emotional side or an agenda. I think one of the biggest parts is that we all have to look at them and we have to examine them and find out what the facts really are. Too many people react emotionally to a particular solution, and it's not the way to do it. I think that one of the things that I bring is also the fact that I was president of a corporation for a long period of time. I've worked in the healthcare industry as well. I worked doing consulting work for Blue Cross Blue Shield for many years, doing the implementation of Part B for the Medicare. I also worked for FIXO, First Postal Service Organization, that handles all of the Medicare inquiries and claims that are submitted inside of this state as well as Connecticut and other states. I have a very broad background as far as business. I've worked in many industries from across the spectrum. And I think that I'm an open-minded person. I don't believe in excluding anybody. Diversity is part of my life. Being an openly gay man my whole life has been a very important part of my life. And so I've accepted everybody. You have to. If I expect acceptance from other people, I have to accept them as well. So I think that I would bring a brand new, fresh view to the council. I really do.
Thank you. How about you, Yolanda? Why should you be elected?
Thank you. I know that, number one, I'm running for city council because I've experienced the benefits of living in a city like Gulfport. I know the quality of life that Gulfport has afforded me, the acceptance that Gulfport has afforded me, and the fact that my commitment will be back to the community. It's community service at the utmost. I know that with my skill sets in communicating with individuals, I am not afraid to ask the tough questions. I'm not afraid to reach out and hear some tough things, given back at me. But I can challenge, and I can research, and I can really drill down to specifics and facts that are going to be necessary for sound decision making. I know that I can disagree, but not be disagreeable. My entire career has been successful in the fact that I can work as a team. You want teams that are diverse. You want teams that have different ways of thinking. You want someone at the table who can roll up their sleeves and not stop until the work is done. You want somebody, which I know, looking at a city council member that's there today, that can sit at the table and partner with each and every council member we have on council today, including our mayor. My job is to complement the work that's being done. I know I can do that. I know how to develop business plans. I know how to look at budgets. I have hired people in the past. I have managed projects that are multi-year. I've been very successful at that. But more importantly is making sure that the residents of this city see those skill sets in me, which when you look at the job that city council members will do, you want someone who has that acumen, and I have that acumen. But more importantly, I have the ability to reach out to the community, listen to the community, dialogue with the community, and come forth with decisions that are in the best interest of the community, and that's my commitment.
Thank you. Okay, as part of this is the end of the question and answer period. What we're going to do is give you 3 minutes, Paul, like for the coin toss, go first on your closing statements, and Yolanda, you as well, and Roger, would you set the clock? Paul will begin with you.
I started to run for this office only because that when I found out that DeSantis was going to be stepping down, I felt that somebody on that council needed to bring the same kind of analytical skills and questioning that she brought to the council. I fell in love with the city. I love the city. The only reason I'm involved in this is not because I have an agenda. I have zero agenda. It's only for the people of Gulfport, for everybody in this room, for everybody who's watching. I think that I really do have something I can offer this town. I've lived here. We bought our house. My other half, like I said, is from here originally, so I have kind of some roots, even though they're sort of, by way of marriage. But I think that the city of Gulfport has so much to offer, and I think that what we have is great character, but we really need to fix and address issues like the septic system, the sewer systems, and the storm drains, 49th Street, and some of the other issues in town. We have the master plan coming up for the marina, which is something that's going to be very exciting as long as we can keep that in perspective. There will be an expansion. That's more money that comes into our general fund, more money that it means that we have less taxes to pay. I think that overall, I do have something to offer this town, and I would like to be the next city council member from Ward 3.
Thank you, Paul. Yolanda? Lisa?
Thank you. First of all, I do want to make sure that you all understand that I appreciate everyone coming out today to listen to this forum. I know that in the next couple of days, we're going to have a lot with your residents listening to this forum as well and making informed decisions. So I also want to thank the individuals who are going to be doing that in their spare time in the privacy of their homes. I do want to thank Town Shores for doing this every time that there's an election, and that we really want people to understand what are some of the issues the candidates are putting forward. I want to make sure that I leave you with my commitment. My commitment is to work hard. My commitment is to be there to represent the community in whole. I tend to say about myself and look at myself and define myself as the bridge candidate, because we're so diverse. We come from all walks of life. I want to be able to tie us all together for the benefit and the good of the city. That bridge candidate understands issues. If you're a mom with a child, if you're 65 plus, if you're hardworking, you lost your home, you're a business, I want to be that candidate to be able to tie us together. I also want to leave you with the fact that I value diversity, equality. I will always hold steadfast the fact that there's no room in my life in city council, if I have if I'm fortunate to get that seat, to always look at equality as first and foremost. There's no difference as to who we are. And I want to promote that and find ways that we can celebrate our diversity, because we can do that in the city. We do a good job with many aspects of that already. I also want to leave you with the fact that, this voting is coming in less than a month. So March 11th, we're at the polls casting the vote. In less than 2 weeks, beginning the 4th of February, the absentee ballots are issued. I feel proud of myself, and hopefully the community feels likewise, that I've put information out there, and I still have a lot of work to do for you to understand who I am, what I bring to the table, what is that commitment to the community that I'm making. Because you'll look at me 2 years from now and measure me against that. So I'm asking you, make an informed decision. Obviously, I want your vote. I want to earn your vote. And I want you to encourage your neighbors, your friends to vote as well. This is very important. It's the American way of doing things. I'm proud that Gulfport has enabled me to do this. Never knew in a million years that I'd be doing this today, but I'm up for the challenge, and I want to make sure that you understand that that's my commitment, and I'm going to keep that commitment.
Thank you very much, both of you, for coming here today and expressing your views, answering our questions, and we appreciate it as well with your time. Our videos and DVDs will be published on our community channel, so what you see here is just the small minute of what's going to be out there, and they will be watching it, and they will be seeing, and they will be making their decisions. So I want to thank you all for your time, and Gabby also, who is here, she'll also be publishing a lot, so thank you very much, both of you.